Hi, my name's Olivia. I run my own art business called Liv the Dream. Here I'll share lots of artworks and tutorials, and I'm going to start doing a weekly tutorial for Bankstown, so keep watching and find out more. For our first tutorial, we're going to be doing some drawing techniques. These will help you have some tools in your toolbox to input into your other drawings that we'll be doing in the following weeks. So definitely worth having a follow along. Learn some drawing techniques. You don't have to be an advanced artist. You can be a complete beginner, and these are really, really helpful. So all you need is pencil and a paper, and then we'll get going. So our first technique we're going to do is hatching. So this technique basically looks like this. Just lots and lots of lines. So inputting that into a shape, we'll do a square to start with. So if you draw a square, I recommend using a pencil such as a HB or a 2H or something of the sort. These are harder pencils and less easy to smudge. Really, really clean, just to draw outlines. Use a ruler if you like, but just for practice it doesn't matter. So then we can start adding our lines. So we're going to follow the direction of the square, and we're going to pretend that the sun is over here, which means this side is going to be lightest. So we're going to start on this side and just start adding those lines almost all the way across. They don't have to be perfect. And just keep going. Just like that. Next, we're going to do the same thing, and we're going to fill in the gaps between these lines just to make it a bit darker as we go to the left. So we're going to stop maybe about here, so just a little bit less than where we were before. So add in those lines as well. This removes the white, which makes it just look darker in itself. Essentially, we're just colouring in with line. There we go. So the next one, we're just going to do the exact same thing again, but we're going to stop a little bit closer to the left. And I'm not pressing any harder or softer. I'm just adding more lines in there. Just like that. And you'll notice that we're starting to go from really light, a little bit darker, a little bit darker, and then it's going even more dark just because we're removing the white that's coming through those lines. So I want us to continue. Choose the next point. You don't have to do the arrows. With practice you'll just know, and just add some more. And you'll notice that there's barely any more white peeking through. The lines don't have to finish in the exact same spot. They can be longer or shorter than the others, just as long as you're filling in those gaps. And you can go over other lines too. Doesn't have to be just in between. Okay, so we've done that one, and now we're going to go one or two more times and just really, really make our darkest shade. A square is a really good way to start because all of these lines will be going in the same direction. Okay. So this one is hatching. So try that in a circle now. It'll be a little bit different, and I'm going to use a different pencil as well to show you the difference between how dark these pencils can actually get. Going from HB or a 2H to something like a 4B. Okay, so we're going to start again the exact same way we did with the square, just with our lines. This time we're going in a moon shape. And it's a moon shape just because of the direction of the circle. We want to keep that round shape going. So now we're going to add in our next lines, and we're just going to fill in the gaps. You'll notice that this pencil is already darker than the other one, and I'm not pressing down any harder. It's a really, really nice technique, really, really easy if you want to create shading and shadows in an artwork with limited amount of time too. So this is really, really good if you don't want to be spending too much time, or if you're just doing a little sketch out in the street or at a cafe. This technique is beautiful. And just keep going, adding those lines. You'll notice I'm not doing those arrows, just keep going off the original line you did and just start making them shorter. And you'll notice it starts to become darker, and the circle will turn from 2D to essentially 3D, just due to the shading. Okay, we're going to continue adding some smaller ones. And then smaller again. What you can do after that one is just fine tune or just neaten up the edge just by going back around. Notice we haven't done much to the other side, just because that's going to be our lightest point. You could go even further across if you'd like, in a round direction. However, it's just all about having a go and seeing what looks good personally to you. So your lines might be longer or shorter than mine, it doesn't matter. It's just about practicing this technique and seeing how you can go with it. So after this one, we can start introducing some shadow. So you'll notice that, again, like our square, the sun is coming from this direction, which is why this side is essentially white. So it's got no shadows on it. This means our shadow is going to follow our dark side, and we're just going to start with some lines again. And we don't have to do too many. And then continuing with that hatching technique, so adding some shorter lines and then shorter lines again. And there we go, there's hatching. I hope you've learned something from that. Keep practicing. You can use this technique with anything. You can use it by drawing a chair, a tree, you could draw a candle, anything in your household, or anything or any people that you're sketching. So it's a really, really effective technique, and it's such a beautiful, simple one that you can use. So we're going to the next one. So our next technique is cross hatching. So similar to hatching, we have these lines, and I'm really liking this pencil. It's a 4B. You can use charcoal, you can use pen, but these ones are really, really nice because they're nice and easy to create those darker colors. So just like hatching, we do these lines, and then for our cross hatching, we're just crossing over those in the opposite direction. So to make a darker shade, our lines are going to be really close together as such, and then to make a lighter shade, we're just going to increase the distance between those lines. And it sort of looks like a net. This is meant to look further away because it's darker, and again, like hatching, the closer the lines together, the less white that we will have, which means the darker it will look. So what you can do with this as well, if you'd like it to be darker, go over the top again. So you don't have to be perfect and go in between. You can go over the top, add some more, and just layer that until you're really happy with it. And I think this is a really, really effective technique. It's very quick and it doesn't have to look too neat as well. So if you have a go at that, I'll give you some time, or we'll pause this video and then we'll move on to drawing a square. These are really, really good techniques to practice and use in the following videos that I'll be sending through to Bankstown Library. They'll be posting them. I'd love for you to comment in the videos if you've got any pictures of your drawings. Okay, so again, like hatching, we're going to go in the same direction of the square, and I'm not going to go all the way across, just to leave some light in there, and that's really, really good, just to add some contrast in your image. Not pressing down too hard. Okay, and then what we're going to do is to start adding some opposite lines, and these are going to be really, really close together. Again, they don't have to be perfect. You don't need to get a ruler and space them out. Just have a practice. Okay, and now I'm just going to create some more contrast and just add some more lines and some more cross hatching. So you can choose essentially where you want it to be darker, just add some more. And like hatching, I'm going to start just going less and less across, just to create that gradient. So our darkest point, the lines are going to be really close together. And then they're just going to slowly go further apart. Keep layering them on. I really, really like this technique, and I think it's very effective. It's very fast. It's got a really nice texture to it. There we go. That one is cross hatching. You can always get a rubber and rub out the outline too. This is a really cool one to add shadow to as well. So similar to hatching, just do those lines, do some more, and then start really close and have those crosses really close together, and then move them further apart. There we go. Have a go at that one, and pause the video if you'd like. Next we're going to do a circle, and a circle is a little bit more challenging as you have to move the cross hatching angles with the angle of the circle. So again, we're going to go in a moon shape just to make it look round. Okay. So we're just going to go around in the direction of our circle. So start adding those lines, and then we're just going to cross over. And just crisscross with that one. And just continue adding some more. You can do some over here. And then just continue making smaller hatches along. Have a play around with this one. There's not really a right or wrong, just as long as you create that depth and the difference between the darks and the lights. Just adding these patterns in. And then you can fine up this darker side by just going over the outline again. There we go. Just continue adding some smaller hatches just around the edge where it would be darker. There we go. And just over here as well. So that should be our circle. Again, if you'd want to do a shadow, start with that hatching technique. Make sure it's almost the same color as your outline or your darkest at the bottom. And then just add those crosses in as well. There we go. You can add this to objects. I'm in a garden, so you can add this to a leaf. Just going to draw a leaf. And have a play around at drawing some different objects. And it's really effective, even just by doing it once. You don't have to overlay. Sometimes once is just enough. And you're just creating that crisscross effect. And that's really, really good for creating shadow. Let's go in one direction and then just over in the next. So I hope that makes sense. Please have a practice. If you've got any questions, pop them in the comments and I'll try and address them in the next video. But we will be using these techniques for our further drawing tutorials, such as still life drawing. We'll be doing ocean drawing, some flower and leaf drawing. Plenty of options, but all of these techniques would go really, really well in completing those. This one was cross hatching. Our next technique is going to be stippling or dotting. I think you may have seen it before, where an image has just an insane amount of dots covering the entirety, and they manage to create shadow and depth, which is our darks and our lights, just with dots. So it's really hard to do this in a really, really large surface area. Usually small objects or items we will do it with. I'll start by drawing a small square. Or smaller than we've done before. And this one essentially is where you just create lots and lots and lots of dots. You can use pen, you can use charcoal, pencil's really effective. I really love using a fine tip felt pen. I think that turns out really nicely. Pencil's really good too. You can fiddle with different colors and different objects as well. We're going to start with a square though. Just fill in the majority of the square with some dots. And it doesn't matter if you've got any lines like that. Sometimes it happens, and this is a really time-consuming one, so you don't have to worry about getting some of those lines in. Okay, once you've done that, we'll pretend our sunlight is coming from this side again. This is going to be our lightest side, which means this will have the least amount of dots on there. So we're just going to go in from the left, and we're going to just start adding lots and lots and lots of dots, and we're going to cover as much of the white on the left with dots. Hopefully you can see that okay. And they don't have to be perfect either. Going quite quickly, filling in the space with those dots. And you'll notice that it looks quite dark, and that's because we're removing the white of the paper and covering it with lots of dots. This one is very time consuming, so I'd use in a larger picture this for smaller bits, such as the lid on a teapot maybe, maybe the shading on a spoon or a knife and fork. Might be a door handle or a leaf or the middle of a flower, something quite small. You can do it on a large surface as well, but it just takes a long time because you really have to just keep adding those dots and just continue going along. I'm not pressing the pencil any harder or softer. I'm just continuing to add more dots as we go across. Probably about at this point, I'm going to start spreading those dots out and add less. The more dots you have, the darker it will look. And the less dots you have, the lighter it will look. This is the time when you can be drawing with me, watching the video. You can pause it if you'd like and have a go. It's just really about getting those dots down. I think it looks really beautiful too. I think it's such an effective technique, and it's very soft as well. So I'm going to start maybe spreading those out a little bit more. I'm not going to put the dots as close together, which means I'm doing less. But we're going to slowly do that so that there's no really harsh lines. It's going to be a soft gradient from lots of dots to not many, and you shouldn't really notice a stopping point. I'm slowly adding less dots and spreading them out a bit. You should start to notice this side being the darkest side and this side being the lightest side. Okay, continue doing those dots and just slowly, as you go across, spread them out. Once you've done it with one medium, which is one utensil or one, I guess, object such as a pencil or a charcoal pencil, a piece of charcoal, you might use pen, try with something else. So maybe have a go in your own time, just at home, and just try just with a different medium. So I might try with pen next time as well, just to get a feel and a bit more practice using different mediums to create our dotting technique. You'll notice that I've got a few lines in there. That's just, it just happens. So just, if you do it, don't stress too much. If you'd like, you can rub it out. But you've noticed that we go from really dark, really close together dots to more spread out dots. And I might want to make this darker, and I just go over the top, maybe press down a little bit harder and just overlay those dots with some more. So you can always go back in, and just like hatching and cross hatching, you can overlay. Okay, so I'm happy with that one. You'll notice we've got our darkest, a little bit lighter, a bit lighter, and then this is our whitest because we have more paper showing through. For shadowing, just start at our darkest and just add some more dots, just in the direction you'd like to go. And when you'd like to go lighter, if you want the shadow to phase out, just spread them out until there's no more. There we go. So that one is dotting. So I think this is a really effective technique. It's really, really beautiful. You can do it on any object in the house you'd like, anything you'd like to draw. However, it is very time consuming, so I really recommend doing it on the smaller objects or items in your artworks. However, if you'd like to have a challenge and cover a large surface area, go for it. I'd love to see it. I've done that before and spent many hours on drawing a piece of rope, but it does turn out beautiful and it is worth it. That one is dotting. This is our last technique. This is shading or blending, and it's really, really effective. I think using a 4B, 5B, 6B and so on pencil, they turn out really, really nicely. However, if all you've got is a HB or a 2H, that's okay. You just won't get the results of the really, really dark to the really, really light. If you use charcoal, that's really effective too. However, it smudges a lot. You can get these from a $2 shop. They're called paper stumps or blending sticks. They come in many sizes and they're really, really good for just going over the bits instead of using your finger when adding extra blending and softness to your image. So if you've got a pencil, I recommend a pencil. I don't recommend a pen, as it's really, really hard to blend efficiently with a pen, as you can't press really too much softer with a ballpoint, as the same amount of ink really comes out. Whereas if you use a pencil, the softer you press, the lighter it's going to be. So I'm going to use a 5B, and this is really, really nice because you can get really, really dark tones by not pressing too hard. And what I want us to do is just using the side of our pencil and resting our hand on the paper. We're just going to use this motion here and press quite dark and just slowly go to the right or left if you're left-handed. And using that motion as you go along, slowly lift your pencil off the paper or press down a little bit lighter until there's barely any colour showing on the paper. So you'll notice that's really, really dark, going lighter, lighter until almost white. So I think this is really, really beautiful. It's very soft. You can go from dark to light to dark. You can go from light to dark. So just have a go with me watching the video. You can pause it if you'd like. So here we're going from light, slowly pressing darker. Darker again. And just continue doing that motion. And slowly pressing down. Until you get that really nice contrast from light to dark. You can go from dark to light to dark as well. This is really beautiful, especially if you're doing a 3D object where the lightest part of the object is in the middle. So if I have a triangle, you can shade always on the angle of our outline. Doesn't have to be perfect either. So I'm still doing our same motion, but in an upward direction instead of a sideward direction. And then just slowly, as we go, press lighter. Lift the pencil off the page. Towards the middle, you don't want it to be too dark, so lighten that up. You can always go back in with the rubber if you'd like to. And then darkest on the other side. Start bringing in that shading, getting lighter and lighter towards the middle. And you'll see now it looks a bit like a cone. You can change the shape of the, if you'd like, adding that roundness at the bottom and just colouring that in. And you can use a rubber to fine tune or even lighten little sections of your image as well. So we've just turned a 2D triangle like that into a cone. And this is a really, really beautiful soft technique. Using this, it's better for softer pencils, especially charcoal. It works really, really well. You might not notice the difference. It just blends that out, so you don't have any of that chalkiness or those grooves. And from that I mean little gaps in between. You can fill those in nice and softly, just by going over with a blending stick. You don't have to use this, it's not essential. I usually like to leave it, but if you'd like it to be softer, definitely have a go at getting one of these. Again, it's from a $2 shop. Really, really cheap, and they're really effective, really good at doing shadows too. Very, very, very soft, and you don't even need to add any more pencil. Just like that. There we go. So I hope you've learned something from this video. We've done blending, we've done hatching, we've done cross hatching and dotting. Next week we'll be doing some still life drawing, so I'll be setting up my own still life and giving you some advice on setting up your own, and then start adding some of the techniques from this one into our future drawings. So please get practicing, have a go, try your best. Try with some charcoal, with some pencils, pen, whatever you've got. Felt tip pen's really, really good for these, and there's plenty of resources online. But yeah, happy drawing. Thank you.